The electronic circuit has to be designed, not assembled. Nowadays, the designers tend to use the off-the-shelf designs and the software that is available on the internet or from the vendors to design the product by the client. This may be unavoidable in certain circumstances, in certain scenarios that we need to off-the-shelf design to make those use of the software available in the market or in the internet to design the electronic circuit. Rather than, I mean, that's a way to understanding the factor that involved that can land them into the problem. Some important suggestion we can make or we can suggest for an individual who seems that has seen such designer and in the last decade that experience the designer have become a reality, and the next generation of engineers does not seem to have the ability to design the electronic circuit. Most of the designers tend to take an existing circuit or the references that are provided by the cheap vendors to develop their product. The source from the internet, this practice later leads to trouble when the product is being tested. Unknown problems crop up and design engineers actually struggle to identify those facts. Under these circumstances, the project gets delayed, or we can say that it missed the market window, the target audience that use those electronic components, those those electronics devices, and that's assuming the designers make those circuits working properly, they are functioning properly, they have either a cost issue or manufacturing issue. In spite of that, implementing a circuit through such assemble approach can produce a pretty nasty and some unpredictable result. The integrated circuit, the product life cycles that are shortening, and these devices reduce those tenure of 7 to 8 years life, and it's continuously have learning of new devices which the current day designer are not able to cope up with. Increase in operating speed with reduced silicon geometry. This calls for a strong high-speed design skill and good basics which are a rarity with the current crop of engineers. Almost a similar situation exists in the embedded software. In fact, the situation in the embedded software is even worse, as most the embedded software developers are only integrating the software components and those assembly language along with those programming, and that had become a rare skill, causing a big problem. The proper software architecture that should be the right solution. We have seen those product development cycle extending and fewer companies or startups succeeding. Interest in electronics product based startup that has started due to the perceived issues, and that's the main factor that we are conceived for those development cycle, and that every electronic products needs those detailed specification to perform a better work in the environment for which it has been designed. When the products are in critical domain like medical devices or any automotive parts, automotive components, some smart gadgets, home appliances, home applications, IoT devices, all these electronic components or electronic devices that use those semiconductor parts, some integrated circuit chip that are need for a documentation and a strict process to be followed, to be maintained, and they comply with those facts. And most of the domains demand the submission of documentation of the regulatory authorities, and these documents are typically designed and to use those products, and the documentation that is not available. In addition, most of these vendors put a disclaimer that the circuit provided for a demonstration purpose, and they are condemned for, compensate for the losses, for the inconvenience, for the problem that arises, and the designer are looking for that in the product design. and the product to be has a lot of communication functions, reference, and that do not scale up. It is true for both the hardware along with the software issues, and the IoT design, the most of the IoT things on the gateway that are communication is properly the design that are used, that are associated with the software and have also performed, that the design of the startup and the startup ecosystem are generated using these components. This is an electronic parts that the reference on the hardware and the code that were supplied with the reference board, and then the testing processes the team faced, the response time of the system that was slower than the requirement, and the team ended up with revisiting the code and the hardware. What transpired was that the intersection was not handled correctly in the hardware and software, leading to the slow responses. And some product and the same product also, the target bill of the material and the actual that were completely off target. The primary reason was the reference design that used almost all the parts for a digital and analog section from the same vendor, while other than the microcontroller team, the lower cost part. So choosing the architecture for both hardware and the software, it needs to accept that three important factors. That is the critical aspect of this industry, that the cost of the product, volume of the product to be produced, and the type of users and the working environment of the product. The cost, that is the primary and main focus of this success of a product and electronic components, as India is basically a low affordability country. We have a low affordability in terms of electronic gadgets, the devices. That means the cost is the very important criteria, along with the bill, material, and the manufacturing charges and some other product support cost. It includes, and the off-shelf design also the important for the profit margin and marketing cost. Next component that is used as a sales volume of the product, how much amount of volume can be sold out in a particular market, in a or entire market that is use this product by the consumers. The manufacturing process that has to be automated, and design has to be robust enough for the fast and reliable manufacturing is important factor. That the design makes those products very useful, handy, and easy to use, very simple to use, that makes those products very popular in the market and user and working environment. That's the important aspect for the user to use those products and the product's working environment with some useful parameters that depend the product success, the product market capture, the share of this product in the market industry. That depends on how this is very much customization for the user to make the product work become very easy to use and is very environmental friendly or very cost effective way that make those popularity in the market, and that also increase the sales volume of the product in the industry. That's how it's going to be successful as a electronic devices or manufacturing, and this could be an important a key aspect for the success of electronic devices in the market. That's all for now. Thanks for your time. See you in the next video.